All right, I'm gonna teach you in the next 20 to 30 minutes everything you need to know about moving to Kelowna, British Columbia. I wanna give you an overview of the different areas so you can find the area that's gonna fit your lifestyle perfectly, and even more importantly, the areas to avoid completely. I also wanna give you an overview of the more expensive areas versus the more affordable areas, and also why some of the surrounding towns might be a perfect fit for you. All right, so here you see we have Kelowna, British Columbia, located in the Okanagan Valley. We have our main roads here. So this is Highway 97. So before you make the turn off at Sicamous, which is quite a ways up here, got to go through Armstrong. So this is Highway 1. When you're coming down Highway 1, when you're coming from Calgary, you're going to turn off on the 97A, and then the 97A goes through Vernon, past Kalamalka Lake, and this is Lake Okanagan running alongside here. You're gonna come through Lake Country right into Kelowna right here. And yeah, 97 runs all the way through Kelowna, the middle of town. And then this is a connector that'll bring you back to Highway 1. This is generally the route you're gonna take when you're going to Vancouver. And you know what, this is my biggest gripe with Kelowna. Like I've talked about in previous videos, how the infrastructure wasn't really designed for such a population increase, because when you have the main artery, like a main highway running straight through your town, it's gonna cause a lot of backups. And if you see, let me clear this, you see this tiny little bridge, you know, it's a 4-lane bridge. Well, I guess it's 6 lanes. But it doesn't feel like this. It feels like 4 is the only way to get across. So I've talked about it before with the traffic, you know, coming from Vancouver through West Kelowna in the summer and then leaving town the opposite way, it can get really backed up right here. And it always does seem to get really backed up in this area, probably right around here. There's a couple lights. These are going to be your biggest traffic stops when you're coming in and out of the city. And then we'll zoom in a little closer. Clear that, and I'll show you kind of the main routes. So the other main routes you're gonna have is you have this sneaky back doorway through Lake Country that comes into the top of Glenmore. You have a new road that comes in from the university that connects back with Highway 97. I mean, you have Highway 33, so this is where you'd be coming from Big White. You're coming from the Kootenays, you're gonna be entering Kelowna in this way. And the main roads are going to be Enterprise, that's going to run along Highway 97, and then you have Springfield that's going to be running from Rutland, and it's going to be going all the way downtown. So these are kind of the main traffic corridors, the main routes when you're driving through Kelowna right here. And yeah, so you can kind of see just from looking at this, just by the design, there's not a lot of room to alleviate traffic. But your other main roads, I mean, you have Highway 33 in Rutland's going to be a main road. You have Rutland Road North here. Like I said, Springfield runs parallel to the highway, same as Enterprise for the most part, and then it kind of goes deeper into the downtown area to Clement, so that doesn't really help you out. Some other main routes is going to be Gordon, that runs north to south through the city. It goes all the way to downtown and then all the way up to my area here in the Upper Mission that we'll get into. And then in terms of West Kelowna, I mean, honestly, West Kelowna is kind of even worse for the most part, because you have Highway 97, and that's really it. There's tons of lights in this area, and things can get severely backed up. You know, if you know the area well enough, you can sneak off to Mount Boucherie Road here and kind of take the Lakeway and pop up in the Gallatley area here and connect back with the highway. I mean, it's 2-lane or single-lane traffic each way, so it can get backed up really easily. There's not many ways to get relief when going through West Kelowna, so traffic can get pretty horrendous on that side. But all in all, yeah, your main roads, it's definitely going to be 97 Springfield. If you're going north to south, it's going to be Gordon. And yeah, let's back out and kind of go over the different areas of Kelowna and West Kelowna. So starting off from the most northern neighborhood, you have the McKinley Landing area that's out here. It's honestly, it's almost out of town. It's closer, well, you know what, it's pretty close to North Glenmore, but it's very close to Winfield and Lake Country. And then you have Ellison, which is right next to the airport, and you know, that's definitely more of a rural area. And you have the University District is going to be right up in here. So you have these three northern neighborhoods. The University District is probably one of the more, you know, McKinley Landing is pretty expensive as well, but the University District itself, it has a lot of student housing, but then it has some very nice homes on the golf course and around that area. There is a golf course up here called the Bear and the Quail, and there's some really great homes and new builds, and they seem to be continuing to build up in this area. You have Rutland, which is a gigantic area. There's Rutland North and South. We'll just call it Rutland for now, just to make it easier. And then you have the last eastern neighborhood. Well, no, that's not true. One of the last eastern neighborhoods on the way out of town is the Black Mountain area. And then I'm gonna have to zoom out in a minute to, here, I'll show you the Joe Rich area. I didn't even show it on the map here. So Joe Rich is is definitely the most rural area in Kelowna, or outside of Kelowna, and it's kind of this whole area. A lot of acreages out here, a lot of space for land, very forested area. It's going to be your last stop on the way to Big White Ski Resort. So if you want the best access to hit the lifts before anyone gets up out there, Black Mountain and Joe Rich area is definitely going to be your best option. And then let's zoom in a little more. And then we have a very popular area is going to be the Glenmore neighborhood. So you have North Glenmore, more in this area, and then what they call Old Glenmore, which kind of is along Knox Mountain and closer to Bernard, closer to town. Glenmore South, you can call it, but we call it Old Glenmore. You're going to get obviously a lot of older homes. North Glenmore isn't packed with new homes by any means, but it's definitely a newer area. Then you have, this is, you know, you have the Clifton area and Magic Estates over here. It's not a separate neighborhood. It's not distinct, but you know how every neighborhood tends to have sub neighborhoods. That's what Magic Estates would be. And then one of the newest, probably the newest area in Kelowna is going to be Wilden. And that's just up here, just west of North Glenmore. Very high end, a lot of modern builds. It's one of the most expensive areas in town, but it's a beautiful area. And then, you know, I gotta move in a little closer. Right in here, you have the Dilworth area, Dilworth Mountain. Another popular area, you get some amazing views looking west at the lake. It's a great access point. So Glenmore, Dilworth, North Glenmore, and even Wilden has the best access of any neighborhood by far, in my opinion. If you just look at it from a little more zoomed out, you'll notice that if you want to leave town or get into town, it's kind of a perfect situation. You want to leave town, you have the back way to Lake Country, you have through the university back to the highway, you have over Dilworth Mountain, you can get to the highway and you can leave town. If you want to go into town, you have multiple, you can go down Glenmore Road, you can go through Clifton back down to Clement and get to downtown. So it's definitely the best access of anywhere in Kelowna. That's for sure reason people love it. That's going to be most in the northern city, and then we are getting into Kelowna North. So Kelowna North is essentially downtown. Everything north of this highway we kind of call downtown in this core area here. This is the north end. This is Kelowna North. This area pretty much right to here is what we call Kelowna South, and they're kind of our downtown areas. Kelowna North is definitely going to be where kind of the downtown core is. Kelowna South has its own little downtown section off of Pandosy here. It's going to have, you know, the urban fair complex. It's going to have restaurants, the beaches. You know, we have beaches all along. We have beaches in the downtown area all the way to Knox, and looking south is where you're going to find the most beaches for sure. And then you have another really rural area, definitely more expensive than Joe Ridge. It's a very large area, is the Kelowna South. You have a lot of wineries, distilleries, golf courses. It's a huge area, a lot of acreages, very expensive land out here. It's a beautiful area. Definitely up there for my favorite in all of Kelowna, but it's not exactly cheap. Some areas more affordable than others, but it's incredible. Gallagher's Canyon, there's Gallagher's golf course out here, and there's some great homes around there, Bearland Strata, townhouse style homes, or even single family. And then as we venture from Kelowna South, you keep continuing either down Lakeshore, which runs west of Gordon. It runs north to south. It's just west of Gordon Drive, runs closer to the water, and then there's Gordon Drive here. You pass Kelowna South, and I would say, you know, looking at this map, I don't know, people argue different. I kind of feel that everything past KLO, this road right here that runs east to west, this is where the lower mission starts. I think probably some people argue it starts a little lower, but you have the lower mission, which is arguably the most popular area in Kelowna, or one of them. The missions kind of both are. It's a beautiful area, more expensive homes. You have homes here along the water that can be anywhere up to $10 million plus, you know, generally most of them in the $3 to $7 million range for sure. It's one of the most expensive areas in Kelowna. And as you keep going further south, you're gonna find, so this is Crawford. Crawford is probably the smallest neighborhood. It's very beautiful, a lot of single family homes. Everything's about a half an acre to an acre lot. Definitely more expensive area, but it's a beautiful small little community. Connects well with Kelowna South. Now that there's a ring road that goes right around here to the upper mission, it gives you great access to the upper mission, and then it's very easy to get into town. There's a couple different routes you could take. And then my area, you know, upper mission here, Gordon just kind of follows all the way along. There's some new developments in this area, mission at the ponds, and you have, see, upper mission is this area the whole, but this section right here is another newer neighborhood called Okanagan Valley. It gets lumped in with the upper mission a lot, but I like to separate it for sure. Fantastic area, great lake views, really cool craftsman style architecture on a lot of the homes. These three areas are some of the most expensive areas to live in the city, also some of the most beautiful areas to live. You have tons of options. And then we'll venture over across the lake. And you know what, doing the numbers, I don't find there's that huge of a difference between the prices of homes in Kelowna and West Kelowna. I think you can get a little more bang for your buck in West Kelowna. Especially, I think the biggest difference is that West Kelowna has more areas that are affordable, if that makes sense. Kelowna as a whole is more expensive. If I'm to pull up all of the listings right now and pull up the stats, it's gonna be like probably $20,000 to $50,000 difference on the average price. But I think there are more affordable areas in West Kelowna versus Kelowna. West Kelowna too has a lot more leasehold land, and usually with leasehold land, you know, where you don't own freehold title, you own a lease that's generally up to 100 years, and those places can be quite a bit more affordable. So just across the bridge you have Lakeview Heights, which is a huge area on the southeastern side of Mount Boucherie. So you have a big mountain here that, you know, if you're against a mountain, you're gonna lose light a lot earlier in the day, but you get some incredible views from Lakeview Heights on the lake. This is the West Kelowna Wine Trail runs along Boucherie. You're gonna have 20 plus wineries, and you know it's a fantastic area for sure. Again, another little sub neighborhood right off of the bridge is gonna be the Castle Loma area. Then you have West Kelowna Estates is the first stop on the northern side of Highway 97, and again, you have West Kelowna Estates here, and just up here you have a sub neighborhood. I really think it should be a separate search, is the Rose Valley area. It's very popular. And then running along this West Side Road, which connects West Kelowna to Vernon, you have areas like Fintry way up here, and you'll see the West Kelowna Road. It's a very windy 2-lane road, goes all the way to Vernon. But there's housing options, and some people choose to live in that area. It's a little far out for most people because that road goes quite a ways, and there's not really any amenities that way. And you can just see, even as we're just getting into this, you notice how many small little neighborhoods, sub areas they are, and each neighborhood has its kind of own identity and meets different needs for certain people and fits better with certain people's lifestyle. So again, make sure you reach out if you are interested in moving here, because there's a lot of nuances to these places, and having a local expert kind of walk you through, give you some ideas of what areas might suit best for you so you can start to look into those more is going to be incredibly helpful. And yeah, you have the West Kelowna Estates area stretches probably mostly to there, and then you start to get into the Shannon Lake. You have Shannon Lake here, the Shannon Lake Golf Course, and Smith Creek is West Kelowna's probably most rural area. I don't know the exact borders of it, to be honest, but the Smith Creek area is just northwest of Shannon Lake, and it's going to occupy quite a large area here. And now a lot of West Kelowna's amenities are going to be right off the highway on each side, kind of Elk Road. In here you have your Walmart, Home Depot, some restaurants, Winners, all that. A lot of the same things we have in Kelowna, but it doesn't have like a Costco and as many options for groceries, but still has enough that you're not always having to run back into Kelowna as much as you think you would. And then the last two areas exiting West Kelowna are going to be the West Bank Center. So mainly leasehold land in this area is owned by West Bank, and the Glen Rosa area. And we're going to get into that in a second, but definitely two of the more affordable areas. And you can just see some of the neighborhoods they have their sub areas, but some of them are so huge. So like Lakeview Heights realistically is this entire thing. And like I said, you have the West Kelowna Wine Trail running all the way through here, getting great views of Okanagan Lake. And as you continue down, Glen Rosa, and that is going to be your closest exits, going towards Vancouver, heading down to Peachland, going all the way down to the Penticton, Naramata area as well. Okay, let's take a look at some of the most expensive areas and kind of see what the price differences between them are. Okay, let's take a look at a few specific areas. So like I mentioned, Kelowna's downtown is located here. You know, you're gonna have a lot of high rises and condo options for people, some new builds. And I mean, in this entire core area, there's new high rises popping up everywhere. This is a huge area for developers, because even the single family home, I will just say this, Kelowna North and South has some fantastic options, great for condos, townhouses, 55 plus communities, but it's probably, in my opinion, one of the worst bangs for your buck in terms of a single family house. And that's because, the 2040 official community plan for zoning is highlighting densification in the areas, because like you've heard me talk about in videos, we don't have the ability really in Kelowna anymore to grow outwards, so we're growing upwards. So a lot of these traffic corridor areas and core neighborhoods are getting rezoned for multifamily, condos, townhouses, and with that, the land value increases quite a bit. So you have a 1950s 1,200 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath home that's on the market for 1.2 million because of its rezoning potential. So if you're a developer, it's kind of the area most people are looking into redevelop, you know, turning into a fourplex and so forth. But if you're looking to just get into home and you see on the MLS, look at, oh my God, a perfect, cute character home. And then you look at the price and you're like, how the hell is something that small so expensive? That is the reason why. I'm not saying it's not a great area. I just feel like bang for your buck wise, this is probably going to be some of the worst just because of that zoning potential, and it's kind of marketed mainly towards developers in my opinion. But yeah, and with the downtown, you know, it has its own issues. So we have Bernard Avenue, which is the main street in downtown. Living off of Bernard, you're very close to downtown. This is definitely where the highest rate of the homeless is going to be in this area. Like the homeless camp runs like along the tracks up here, and it's a pretty decent sized camp. A lot of the resources are on Leon, which runs just north of the highway. Again, I wouldn't say it's overly dangerous, but in terms of probably the least desirable streets in Kelowna, in this section of town, Leon is going to be up there for, I probably wouldn't want to live there. You know, there's some great condos and high rises for affordable prices, but they are affordable for a reason. A lot of the resources for the homeless are in this section here. So, you know, you have during the day people traveling from the camps coming through downtown to these sections. It might not be the most desirable place for you. You may not want to call that home. And then just across the highway, you have this really interesting little section right here. Sorry, I just lost it. Right here from the highway all the way down on Abbott Street. And it's another area where you're going to be astounded at the price of the homes. I mean, most of the homes on the west side of this road are going to be waterfront properties, and there's a ton of heritage homes. So really cute homes that have a heritage designation. When you look at these places and you think, oh my God, I'm going to jump into one of these homes, I'm going to remodel, I'm going to do all this zoning and stuff, you are extremely limited to what you can do with some of these properties. So just always keep that in mind. Again, it comes down to land value here. Anything that's along the water is going to be incredibly expensive because of the land value, and the property taxes are going to shock you. They're going to be so high. So yeah, let's start out with the more expensive areas. So the most expensive areas in Kelowna, I've already kind of mentioned, are going to be the Wilden area up in here, and then back to kind of my neck of the woods is going to be the Lower Mission and Upper Mission. So we'll just quickly put in a search and we'll look at those three areas and the average prices versus what I believe to be the most affordable areas. So we'll look at Upper Mission, Wilden, we'll look at actives and sold in the last 180 days, select all, look at the stats. You're looking at, for the actives and sold, an average list price of 1.4 million and an average sale price of over $1 million, almost 1.1 million. So definitely on the higher end. I mean, this right here is just above what the average is for single family homes in the entire city. But I definitely feel that these areas are going to have, although they have tons of options, they're going to be on the more expensive side as a whole. And then when looking at the more affordable areas, three main areas that are going to be the most affordable is Rutland. So Rutland as a whole is a very affordable area. It has a lot of places too that you're going to see are up for rezoning. So some expensive land developments there where you have, 4 houses as part of a land development that are going to be rezoned to condos or row townhouses. Rutland definitely gets the worst rap out of any neighborhood in Kelowna. And I think that's something that's slowly starting to fade away, the stigma of it. I understand that at one point Rutland was more of a sketchier area, but honestly, as a whole, it's some of the best bang for your buck. Great entry level prices for single family homes. A lot of potential for investing if you're looking at buying a place with a suite and then renting that out and, you know, helping to pay that off, maybe pulling equity out of that and continuing to build up your portfolio. Rutland is going to be the place to do that, and it has a lot of bi-level splits, a lot of older homes with suites in it that are in the 750 at the lowest point to $1 million range, which is really good for this area. You know, there are still, in my opinion, some areas to avoid. The main being kind of this section here. And again, almost this entire street is up for redevelopment, so I don't think it's going to last that long. But, you know, Hine to me is kind of one of the more known streets like Leon of areas to avoid. But again, you go over a couple blocks, you have Bentley Park. This whole area is very safe. There's also a little section, I think it's just off of Pryor here, that has some sketchy areas. There's an old hotel here, motel, that people live in that kind of has always sketched me out. But I think as a whole, you know, this area off of Springfield is fantastic. This is a beautiful neighborhood just east of Rutland Road North, and Rutland, amazing bang for your buck. And then the other two most affordable areas that I had mentioned earlier is the Glen Rosa and West Bank Center. Now, you'll kind of notice how some of the more, I mean, you know what, the lower and upper Mission isn't exactly central. It's just in a beautiful area, but one of the biggest reasons for Glen Rose and West Bank being so cheap. West Bank is definitely because there's so much leasehold land. Glen Rose is because it's so far away. And I mean, if you are having to commute into Kelowna during rush hour, it can definitely, you're going to have to leave pretty early. This is going to be the worst traffic I think you'll have to experience when living here, is if you live in Glen Rosa, you're commuting into Kelowna during that 9 to 5 time. But again, some amazing, it's got great schools, great access if you need to leave to Vancouver, great access down south to the Okanagan Valley. You're going to get some great options for homes and single family, some decent lot sizes as well, same as West Bank. So those are going to be your more affordable areas. And if we look at the difference in price, so we were looking there at around, you know, listing price 1.4, sales price almost 1.1 compared to Rutland North, South, West Bank Center, and the Glen Rosa area. And you'll see there's quite a bit more listings too, because Rutland is such a big area and there's always so much for sale there. But if you look at the stats for this, the average of everything is list price $836,000 and sold price $666,000. So it is quite a dramatic difference. You know, you're almost talking for the list price $600,000 difference, for the sales price $500,000 difference. So again, that's why you need to learn these things about Kelowna when you're moving here. I mean, if not to say if money is not an option, but if the area you want to live in, you really want to be in a Mission or Southeast Kelowna or Kelowna South or Crawford or Glenmore, they're still affordable places. We're just talking about the areas as a whole for their price, and those are going to be some of the more expensive areas for sure. Okay, and like I said, if waterfront living is important to you, West Kelowna, it's a bit hard. Even though Lakeview Heights is such a huge area along there, most of the homes are built along the hill. So if you really want waterfront, you're going to have to stick to this. You know, Glenmore North doesn't really have great waterfront. Again, it's up on the hill. You get some amazing views, but this Abbott Street, Kelowna South, Lower Mission is going to be your waterfront properties and some of the most expensive homes, actually definitely the most expensive homes in Kelowna. The Kettle Valley area, again, not waterfront, built along the hill, similar to Lakeview Heights, but some incredible views there looking into the valley. If you're more into rural living, you want space and you still want to be in Kelowna, like I said, you're going to have to be looking at the Joe Rich area. So you're going out quite a ways to this area. but you're going to get more affordability in Joe Rich as compared to Southeast Kelowna. Less options there. There's usually less active on the market. But Southeast Kelowna is a beautiful area. Southeast Kelowna and Ellison are both beautiful areas for rural, lots of land. Southeast Kelowna out of the three is going to be the most expensive. It's my favorite by far, which, you know, it always sucks. Of course, it's the one you like the best is the most expensive, but it's where I definitely want to move to next. Get lots of space, lots of access into town. You can be into downtown within 15 minutes. And then Ellison, little less expensive, still some expensive areas, you know, Sunset Ranch Golf Course. There's some beautiful places on there, a little higher end. And then there's the Tower Ranch area, which you're going to look at the prices of somewhere on Tower Ranch and think, oh my God, this is so affordable. What's the deal with this place? And the deal is that it's either a bare land strata, I don't know if any of them are townhouses, and it's on leasehold land. So you're going to be paying your mortgage, a strata fee, and a leasehold fee, which, you know, that can definitely put your monthly payments up there pretty high, and it's enough that usually people get scared away. Not saying it's not an option, you know, homes are in, I think, the $700,000 to $800,000 range, but there's definitely a reason why. They're beautiful places, new builds for the most part, but pretty expensive when you're looking at it in those terms. Now, I'm not going to get too in-depth into it, but I just want to quickly cover some of the surrounding towns. You have Winfield and Lake Country just north of Kelowna. Price wise, you know, Lake Country, it's so close to Kelowna. It's such a beautiful area. You have Woods Lake up here. You have Kalamalka right here. Okanagan Lake on the other side. So you have all these lakes surrounding this town. It's very close to Kelowna. The average price is honestly almost creeped up to what Kelowna is. So you're not really saving money moving to Lake Country. But if you continue just an hour from Kelowna, so Kelowna to Vernon is under an hour. I think it's 48 minutes in total. You're going to save about, on average, $200,000 to $300,000 on the cost of a home. Vernon is a fantastic area. You have Coldstream, kind of is pretty much just a part of Vernon. The farther north you go, the more affordable it's going to be. But Vernon is a great option as well. And if you're thinking of going a little more south, you want to be closer to the Vancouver side on the west side of West Kelowna. Just about 10 minutes, I mean, less than 10 minutes from the Glen Rosa neighborhood. You're going to be hitting Peachland. Incredibly cute, quiet little town. Some amazing views. A lot of the homes are built up along the mountain here facing southeast, and you get some incredible views of the lakes that you can see all the way down to Penticton or all the way up to Kelowna. Travel down a little more, another really quiet, beautiful little town is Summerland. Some amazing wineries around this area. Again, Peachland and Summerland to me are kind of hidden gems. Not a lot of people know about them, but they are really quiet and beautiful towns. A lot more affordable too. We're starting to get further down south. Penticton is another fantastic town bordered by Okanagan Lake and Skaha Lake. It is it's the smallest out of the three cities, Kelowna being the biggest, Vernon being the second biggest. Penticton is the smallest out of those three. Again, definitely a lot more affordable. Some of the best wineries in the entire Okanagan Valley. Naramata is like a place you've never been before. It's just wine country. That's all it is. It's its own separate town just on the east side of the lake, across from Summerland, and you got to go down through Penticton to get here, or you can sneak and go through the Shoe Lake Road like I have to the Upper Mission. It's beautiful. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. Even if you're in town, I highly recommend checking it out. And as you go further down south, you're going to hit small towns like Caledon, Okanagan Falls, and Oliver and Osoyoos, which is where all the big reds are. You got Osoyoos Lake down here, just above the border. This is the farther south you go, the more desert the terrain's going to be, and the hotter it's going to be for sure. So those are kind of all the major towns outside of Kelowna. Each one with its own, you know, specific lifestyle for people. Definitely a lot quieter the farther south you go or the farther north you go. The busiest area is going to be this Kelowna to Vernon area, going to be the most populated, the most dense, the most action, but all in all, fantastic options. So there you can see there are a ton of options when moving to Kelowna, British Columbia, and each area kind of has its own nuances and things that make it special and more specific to a certain kind of lifestyle. So when you reach out to me by call, email, or text at the information on the screen below, 7 days a week, anytime, you're gonna find out the areas that are going to fit your lifestyle the best, but most importantly, the areas that are not going to work for you, the areas that you wanna avoid completely. So make sure if you haven't yet, reach out to me, subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with everything regarding Kelowna, British Columbia and the Okanagan Valley. And stay to the end of the video and click my next video, which is gonna go over the top pros and cons of what it's like to live in Kelowna, British Columbia. I want you guys to comment down below on what area you want overviewed, what area you're most interested in, what area you're planning on moving to. Just let me know. I love to hear from you guys. I love when people reach out to me about moving to this area, especially from my YouTube channel. I put a lot of effort into these videos and I love that people are finding value in them. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. My name is Boholij with Century 21 Executives in the Welcome Home team. This is my channel, Living in Kelowna, BC, and I will catch you in the next video.